Thank you for joining today's ALA virtual session on how to measure the value of library marketing on book discovery and sales. My name is Guy LeCharles Gonzalez, and I'm the project lead for the Panorama Project, cross-industry collaboration transparency to more accurately measure the role public libraries play in the book business. I am also the chief strategist for Freeverse Media, a strategic marketing consultancy, and have previously been the founding director of programming and business development for Digital Book World, director of content strategy and audience development for Library Journal and School Library Journal, and publisher and marketing director for Writer's Digest. My first real job as a teenager was as a page at Mount Vernon Public Library in New York, and along the way I also became a published poet and journalist, so this is a subject of particular interest to me. The Panorama Project, we also partner with industry associations, individual publishers, and public libraries to measure and analyze the impact of library collections, marketing, circulation, and events on the discovery and sales of specific titles and authors. Our advisory council includes members from Penguin Random House, Sourcebooks, Open Road Media, American Library Association, Audio Publishers Association, NISO, Rakuten Overdrive, and Ingram Content Group, and initial funding is being provided by Rakuten Overdrive. You can find us at panoramaproject.org, as well as on Twitter and LinkedIn. Our work is focused on developing data-informed insights about public libraries and their impact on book discovery, author brand development, and consumer sales. You can learn more about some of our recent initiatives at panoramaproject.org/research, but today we'll be focusing on key findings from our 2019 Library Events and Book Sales Survey, which gathered insights from public librarians into the various book-related events, including author visits, literary festivals, book clubs, and other experiential events that directly connect readers to books and authors that they produce for their communities, as well as how they market them, which partners they work with, and how they measure. We also discuss how libraries can effectively track, measure, and put in context the full monetary value of their marketing efforts to publishers and authors. Among the key findings, library events and book events typically offer a broader variety of formats, including writing workshops, while those producing fewer events mainly focus on community book clubs and topical speaker series. Our respondents were almost equally split between producing more or less than 10 events per year, 49% versus 51%. These events not only drive additional sales to the library itself to support increased circulation of featured authors and books, the overall marketing impact also drives unmeasured sales of related titles and authors through the library itself, as well as through local booksellers and online retailers. Nearly all respondents said they work directly with authors to book them for events, while less than half work with publishers, and even fewer work with local booksellers. Those authors are more likely to bring books to sell at events too, which means their publishers are aware of library events' direct commercial impact, extended it through local booksellers and online retailers. Library events feature authors and books of all kinds, including traditional and self-published, genre, nonfiction, and poetry, national bestsellers, and unheralded backlist. But traditionally published nonfiction authors were the most commonly featured for libraries producing 10 or more every year. While libraries overwhelmingly book local authors for their events, those producing fewer events booked local authors 90% of the time versus 67% for those producing more events. This is most likely a reflection of local authors being more accessible to libraries of all sizes, and publishers typically being more focused on the latest bestsellers for coordinating book tours in larger markets. Libraries will either rely on the author to bring their own books to sell at an event, or order them from a local bookseller without engaging them as a formal partner for the event. Unsold copies will typically be added to their collections or donated to organizations to be used as fundraisers. Although recent bestsellers aren't the primary focus of most library events, those are the books most likely to get the biggest marketing push from their publishers, including support for book tours. So the full impact a library event might have on local book sales is often unknown to the publisher. The reasons libraries are more likely to work directly with authors range from cost effectiveness and convenience, both for the library and the publisher, to being part of a mission to specifically engage and spotlight local voices. Also, since the majority of publishers' marketing budgets goes to a small percentage of best-selling authors, events are often one of the few opportunities local and mid-list authors have to get in front of. Libraries can leverage their circulation data for print, ebooks, and audiobooks to curate events that are of specific interest to their local communities rather than simply fulfilling demand for print books generated by national bestseller lists. So it's no surprise that the events they host tend to sell books, as well as before and after through other channels which will get credit. The difference between local and national interest can be stark, as we've seen demonstrated every quarter through our own Picks report, which spotlights notable recent fiction, nonfiction, and young adult ebooks with the highest unmet demand in the United States public libraries. Those picks are broken down into 9 regional lists that align with the American Bookseller Association's regional associations, and they often include a number of titles unique to each region's lists. Those regional that aren't always national best initiatives, but they often find an audience in local libraries. This all suggests that most publishers are unaware of libraries' full direct commercial impact on discovery sales, as full credit typically goes to the final point of sale. It also libraries need to figure out how to effectively track, measure, and communicate the full monetary value of advisory and marketing efforts back to publishers in an among the most compelling findings from this report to authors and publishers. Libraries are most likely to maintain a relationship with an author events they produce. Of libraries that produce more than 10 events per year survey their attendees for feedback after the event, and 55% provide that feedback back to the author, but only 34% provide it to their publisher or publicist. Libraries tend to work directly with authors more than publishers. When tracking their own marketing efforts, only 44% of these libraries track the impact on event attendance, 29% on circulation of related books, and 6% on local sales of related books. Only 50% of libraries producing fewer than 10 events per year survey their attendees for feedback after an event, and 2% provide that feedback to the author, but only 17% provide it to their publisher or publicist. Again, this is partly because libraries tend to work directly with authors more often than publishers. When tracking their own marketing efforts, only 24% of these libraries impact on event of related books and 5% on local sales of related books. You can't value what you do here, and to measure their full value, never mind sharing it with authors or publishers. This is both a weakness and how does a library determine what its platform is worth to publishers, especially to publishers who fear libraries may actually be costing them consumer sales? Like any good marketer, libraries leverage a broad range of marketing channels to promote their events to their local communities, and the combination of physical signage, social media, and their own websites were noted as the three by far. Letters were an especially effective. All four of these channels can be measured, albeit in different ways. Beyond their own platforms, libraries also take advantage of relationships, including bookstores, offering a uniquely targeted platform. Many of these channels will be measured. While bestsellers tend to get a full-court marketing press from publishers, towards a couple of social media genre, maybe they'll get an email blast to Book Riot, IO9, or Smart Bitches Trashy Books. Meanwhile, marketing budgets for small publishers are relatively small, if they exist at all, and are usually even more reliant on the author's platform to reach an audience. Library events represent a unique and relevant audience of readers that few local or niche media organizations can match, in addition to brand recognition and affinity. So how can a library determine the value of its platform and communicate that value in a way publishers can understand and compare to their traditional marketing channels? You can do it by replicating a format they're used to seeing, an old-fashioned media kit. I'm going to quickly review the basic elements of what should be included in a library's media kit today, and we'll be expanding on this approach soon with our Library Marketing Valuation Toolkit. There are 3 steps to this process: define your audience, position your platform, and compare your platform. How can a library define circulation and programming decisions to represent the potential audience you can reach? Start with your population served and any demographic breakdowns you have: income, demographics for which you offer distinct services, including story times, maker spaces, foreign language collections, etc. Then, identify your primary channel lists, social platforms, along with an overview of your events, both in person and virtual, whether they're hosted at your local branches or at other venues in your area. Then, measure, track, and report standard metrics for each channel, including visits, circulation, views, open rates, click-through to open rates, social media followers, average engagement, average registration and attendance. The goal is not simply to represent the breadth of your reach, but its depth in any notable area, whether that's specific demographics or channels. Once you've quantified by defining audience, positioning your platform for context is the next step. Clearly define your materials budget, breaking out books by format, and include an overall non-book materials figure for context. The budget goes towards repurchasing expired licenses. If you spend more or less on print versus ebooks or books versus magazines, but presenting a complete number that puts books in context will enable fair comparisons to local booksellers and other sales channels, while also giving insight into your local community's content habits. While you won't necessarily know how you can typically match, and depending on your location, you may be a regional relation for some publishers. For circulation trends, you want to be able to highlight what's happening with specific formats and categories. Have you seen a steady increase in audiobook circulation? Is print circulation rising, steady, or declining, particularly for bestsellers in the past year? Are genre titles 50% of your ebook circulation, but only 20% of your budget? More importantly, spotlight big digital trends. Few libraries can meet the videos can be sales and marketing opportunities for savvy publishers if they know about them. For authors, identify read-alikes for any current bestsellers you're less likely to be able to book for an event, focusing on authors with a regional connection that you might be able to create a unique demand around. Spotlight them as a targeting opportunity. Highlight any partnerships and specify what they bring to the table, whether it's a New York Times reporting local bookseller, a community organization relevant to a specific topic or genre, or even your weekly column in the local newspaper. And if your events tend to local media coverage, track that as earned media and provide links or clips of the best examples. Once you've defined your audience and positioned your platform, then you have to benchmark it in order to put a realistic value on it. Because libraries aren't for-profit businesses, the services they provide being undervalued. And when it comes to undervalue themselves, don't make that mistake. Public libraries are targeted with deep engagement, and they should never compare themselves to Facebook nor Google, which publishers frequently expensive reach, usually relying on the author's brand and a pre-existing awareness of their latest book for conversion. That's a bestseller, but what about the majority of their books? Libraries can offer the same targeted engagement with a relevant audience as social networks, along with a ability and affinity that few local media outlets can match. So connect with them to get what they're charging for advertising and other sponsorships. And if they're able to segment their audience to specific target readers and or these rates will represent, you may find you have a stronger platform than they do and can value yours higher. Google and Facebook both offer tools to build targeted segments by interest and location, allowing you to see exactly what publishers would pay them, which represents your valuation floor. Context, floor is lava. Framing of audience and interest also help inform text. Haley Rich, Director of Communications at Cuyahoga County Public Library in Ohio, recently developed a simple calculator to help them quantify the value that they provide above and beyond their purchase hour, and presented an overview of it in an ALA webinar last December. Media presence and in-branch displays equivalent to information in retail settings that publishers usually have, along with other channels, and quantified the value each one delivered for specific tied to that author's event at the library. Using local media and Google and Facebook as benchmarks, they established a value of $5 per thousand sessions, including one page for the duration of the event's featured promotion, as well as 2 pages dedicated to the author event. They also used $15 per thousand for their email list, counting opens and clicks as equivalents to impressions. Note that simply having a large email list is meaningless if your audience doesn't engage with it, and that's a challenge many media outlets face. Be transparent about it. If it's not great, make it an action item to improve. Don't exclude it from your platform, these channels. For physical marketing, including in-branch signage, they used a $5 inability to track how many visitors actually saw the signage, a concession any experienced marketer is used to and expects. They also produce and distribute print program guides that included the event promotion, and that was also valued at $5 per thousand. Platform is their monthly book club pick local TV station, a 5-minute segment focused on a single book, along with 40 15-second commercials during the month, which would have cost a publisher $12,000 $2,000 for the equivalent airtime. Marketing program for this one author, Ohio, $167 the publisher would have had to spend. The library was a traditional media platform, various touch points, and it was all delivered free in support of the book and the event. Perhaps more surprising, it was all for a debut novel, The 7 or 8 Deaths of Stella Fortuna by Juliet Grames, who is from Hartford, Connecticut, and works in New York City as an editor at Soho Press, so there was neither a local author nor national bestseller rank. For context, as of the 2019 United States Census estimates, making it the second largest county in Ohio, which is the seventh state in the U.S. How many debut authors are getting a $20,000 marketing budget for a single event in a library in the Midwest? How many libraries are delivering similar value as Cuyahoga County across the country for books and authors that never hit the bestseller list, but were able to find an audience via the public library? When asked about the perceived impact of these events, whether they could measure an aspect of it or not. Those that can and do measure their impact are able to show not only to the individual author and book featured at an event, but very often there's a ripple effect for the author's backlist as well as for similar titles. And because we know many library patrons are also avid marketing activities, not just for individual events, but also a variety of readers initiatives, the only impact on sales isn't if there's one, but how big and where patrons are. One of the best ways to help answer that question is to align your library platform's reach and value with publishers' other channels and see where you line up. The Library Marketing Valuation Toolkit practices for producing events, along with a template for building a customized media kit to communicate the full value of those events and other library marketing initiatives. In the ongoing conversation about libraries' impact on the publishing system, this information can help you value more explicitly to authors and publishers concerned about cannibalization. Consumer health crisis paths will continue to play a critical role in the marketing and discovery of new and old books as the retail side of the industry regains its footing. Understanding the full value of your local marketing strengthens. Thank you for attending today's session. If you'd like to learn more about the Library Marketing Valuation Toolkit, or want to get involved with the Panorama Project at panoramaproject.org, connect with us on Twitter or LinkedIn, or contact us via email at info@panoramaproject.org. Once again, I'm Guy LeCharles Gonzalez, Project Lead for the Panorama Project, and I thank you for spending this time with me, and please feel free to reach out if you have any questions or if I can help you with anything related to evaluating your own library's platform. Take care.